Don in London. Hello, it's October 16th 2009. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My substance, alcohol, my behaviour. Well, cross-addicted into anything actually. Work, relationships, food, drink in the old days. And I can still be cross-addicted and get obsessed by certain types of food which I think are still important to me, like dried fruit. And it's strange really, if we can't get our primary addiction, as I say mine was alcohol, we'll move on to something else unless we find recovery. And even in recovery we can still get a bit obsessed about what is right for us, and to the point where it becomes an extreme again. So we can become extremely virtuous, and again that can be seen as a defect of character, when in fact we're looking for a middle road where things are even and in some sort of balance. And as often been said in fellowship, and I'll talk about that in a moment, balance is something we see as we swing by. So I've tried the isms and they weren't very productive for me, and it took me a long time to realise that 24/7 drinking was going to be my destination, and I denied it for a long time, and it did become my destination. So 24/7 drinking, no way out, seeking oblivion, never wanting to wake up, all the horror of addiction and this emotional mental disease and physical disease whilst we're in it. And you know, I was lucky. Family, community, professionals kept me alive long enough to find a solution to my problems just for a day, and that was to understand my malady. And it took me forever, it seemed, 35 years of conviviality to start with, taking the edge off, pushing down my fear, putting on a brave face, and utilising ego if I had any, and not having very much self-esteem. So these days a fellowship keeps me on track, and that fellowship is Alcoholics Anonymous. Sober comes first, and if I keep sober, then the rest of life can happen. That means I do not devalue anything or anybody, certainly no one. And sober means I can be a part of, I can love people, be loved back, and do something useful. So part of doing these videos is my daily meditation and sharing some information from the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous about how it impacts on me. I don't speak for AA, never can, never will. It's full of unique, authentic people who can speak for themselves where they choose, and that's absolutely sacrosanct, as is anonymity. Anonymity affords the sanctuary to find our truth, and for me truth is the universal truth, not the one I think I know, the truth of me. It's just my opinion and belief, but there is a universal truth that we aim for, which is living in the moment of now and seeing reality as it is. And that's my spiritual connection to living, and it's my understanding of God as much as I can. I don't define God, never can. Someone said to define God is to deny God, and in my life I can be an atheist, agnostic or God believer. It depends on my life experience and what I come to understand. So we live in one day and we come to an understanding on a daily basis where we are and what is possible. So Fellowship of AA helps me. There's a statement of intent or a preamble shared at every meeting, and it goes like this. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And that's why I do these videos, is to share just my outlook and what I'm learning on a daily basis. And I was privileged to be asked to do a chair last night at a meeting, and the person who asked me was standing in because there was no actual secretary for that meeting, and still isn't. And they had completely forgotten, and I had just reminded myself. I checked my diary, so I rang them up and said, is it tonight the chair to the share first and then listen to everybody else? And they said, oh yes, I'd forgotten. And we can forget on any day where we are and what we need to do. So it was good to get there. It was good to see people I hadn't seen for a couple of years, because it's been at least 2 years since I was at that meeting. And you know, what we hear back from everyone, it tells our story as much as we share our story first. So in the sharing of that story, I heard powerful messages about me and how to keep it in the day, and not to judge other people harshly in any way at all. And that's really where the readings of the literature go today in As Bill Sees It, this book, and the Daily Reflections, this book. And in the Daily Reflections for October 16th today, it says, throughout each day, this is not an overnight matter, it should continue for our lifetime. It comes from AA's Big Book, page 84. During my early years in AA, I saw step 10 as a suggestion that I periodically look at my behaviour and reactions. If there is something wrong, I should admit it. If an apology was necessary, I should give one. After a few years of sobriety, I felt I should undertake a self-examination more frequently. Not until several more years of sobriety had elapsed did I realise the full meaning of step 10 and the word continued. Continued does not mean occasionally or frequently, it means throughout each day. Because throughout each day we can get on our own nerves somewhat, or we can feel things, suppress them, or let them out, and it could be a reaction which can be inappropriate or unhelpful to ourselves and others, or it could be a response. And yet we still need to look at our own behaviour and what's causing it, and not blame anybody else, because it's the reaction or response in us which is what bothers us. It doesn't bother other people because they probably let it go, and then it rumbles around in our own heads. So the spot check inventory, assets, liabilities, how am I feeling, why, what can I do? So important to keep on track. And as Bill sees it, I just do these linearly and they fall out. Quite appropriately for me, page 230, love everybody. Not many people can truthfully assert that they love everybody. Most of us must admit that we have loved but a few. Then we have been quite indifferent to the many. As for the remainder, well, we have really disliked or hated them. We AAs find we need something much better than this in order to keep our balance. The idea that we can be possessively loving a few, can ignore the many, and continue to fear or hate anybody at all has to be abandoned, if only for a little at a time. It's a progress, not perfection. We can try to stop making unreasonable demands upon those we love. We can show kindness where we had formerly shown none. With those we dislike, we can at least begin to practice justice and courtesy, perhaps going out of our way at times to understand and help them. So in other words, don't get stuck in the problem, live in the solution. So easy to say, but you know what, I have to try and learn to do it on a daily basis. And you know, AA's Big Book, it comes in different versions, just so you know. This is one version. It's a nice handy size, but I also have my other version, which is here. So just my humour. But there's a passage called Acceptance, and I read it not all the time, but it's always in my mind, and it goes like this, page 417. And acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. When I am disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing or situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me, and I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing or situation as being exactly the way it is supposed to be at this moment. Nothing, absolutely nothing, happens in God's world by mistake. Until I could accept my alcoholism, I could not stay sober. Unless I accept my life completely on life's terms, I cannot be happy. I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in the world, as on what needs to be changed in me and my attitudes. And the Serenity Prayer helps me on a daily basis around acceptance of me and my attitudes, which is, to God or to good conscience of your choosing and understanding, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference is just for today.